Good morning, Mr. Stovall. Just doing a sound check to make sure you can hear me. I see you're muted.
What about now?
Okay, I can hear you, yes. We're just waiting for the others to join us.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly who's coming from your side, but we have a few people coming from this side.
Oh, okay. No problem. No
All
problem.
right, so stand by. We've got about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Thanks.
So the camera, look at the camera. Why is the camera? Okay, we're gonna have to, I'll put it here so we can sit there. Okay. Your system has blue, good morning.
Good morning,
Ooh.
everyone. We can hear you loud and clear.
I'm sorry, we're just
That's
going from
okay.
one meeting to the next.
Yeah, we see you getting organized. Are you
Yes,
all set?
yes, we're set. I will tell you, on this end, it's two of us.
Okay.
And because of the change in background, Ms. Smith,
Yeah.
the camera only zooms on one at a time, so you might see some blur spots because it's
Which
not
is-
designed for group meetings, but we are meeting as a team.
That's fine, as long as we can hear
Okay.
you.
All right, thank
You're
you.
good to go.
Good morning, Mr. Stavo.
Morning, morning. How are you?
Morning.
All right. And Principal Raina, who do you have there with you?
So I have Miss Tracy Williams. She's the P2
Okay.
teacher here at Paget Primary. She was a
Okay,
student
great.
at Paget Primary. All her family attended Paget Primary. She lives across the street from Paget Primary, so she
Okay.
is, yes.
She sounds like she's all things Paget Primary.
All
right. All right, well, let's get started so that we can hear your story. For those on the call who don't know me, I'm Jasmine Smith, the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Education, and I'm the lead of the History and Legacy component of the rescoring process assessment meetings, which is your part of the process. And just a little background, in July 2023, the minister announced in a public meeting that the ministry would include a history and legacy component to the parish primary school decision rubric. The process to get us here today included input from the minister's history and legacy working group, as well as the ministry policy team. Through that process and consultation, the schools all indicated that they did not have representation on the school location strategy team. And that's the team that carried out the work and made the recommendation to the minister for which schools will be parish primary schools. The minister then committed to allowing representatives to participate in the history and legacy component process, which is how these meetings came about. So the purpose of today's meeting is for the Paget Primary School community representatives to provide history and legacy related information to our team for consideration and rating. The ratings are on a scale of 1 to 5, and there are 4 categories, and you would have seen those categories in the correspondence that we've sent out. And there's a maximum of 20 points. At the end of the process, the ratings will be provided to the minister, who makes the final decision. He may wish to consult with his cabinet colleagues. He doesn't have to, but I think he will, but it's his decision. The meeting is scheduled for 55 minutes. As we're getting close to the end, we'll remind you if you are doing a presentation and you need the time. And I just tell you about the members of our team. The assessment team includes myself, as I said, Kim Dismont Robinson, who's the Director of Community and Culture Affairs, and Carla Ingerman, who is with us today online. She's at the archives. And then we have David Northcott. He's a policy analyst who will determine compliance. So he doesn't participate in the meetings, but he will review and ensure that we comply with the process. And I have also today Tanisha Utley, who works for our office in the ministry, and she's been part of the history and legacy working group and support for a few years as they've worked through this process. And for continuity and consistency, we have invited her to join our meetings. So I should say these meetings are all recorded, and the recording will serve as a formal record of the meeting. So let's get started. So is the format, I just want to ask you whether you have a presentation or you're really going to just be sharing information on the study factors we sent to you, just in general discussion.
That's the general discussion.
Okay, great. So, well, we'll hand it over to you, and you can start. We can go through each one. How have you prepared?
I have a timeline of the history of Paget Primary here.
Okay.
I can read portions of it. I don't want to go step by step, year by year,
Right.
but just give you some of the highlights of what we know as being part of the history. So I'll give that, and then within that, Mr. Stovall and Ms. Williams have personal experiences as it relates to Paget Primary. They may have some more insights on the actual customs of the
Mhm.
school.
Yeah, that sounds great, Principal Reyna, as well. You know, whatever you have, if you wish, you can share that with us as well, and it will form part of the record if you have like a summary, if we don't have it already.
Okay.
But you
All
can.
right. So historically, we know that there were no schools for Black students that went beyond primary level. Paget Primary came together in 1940. In 1938, 7.5 acres of property was purchased in Paget West for the sum of £2,000 to build a new school for Paget Glebe and Paget Spring Hill. And you know, those were two one-room schoolhouses. Mr. Gerard Bean became principal of Paget Glebe School. Gerard Bean and Miss Cora Scott Gale became joint heads of Ordroad School when the schools were amalgamated in 1944. So both Paget Glebe and Spring Hill became one school, which became Ordroad School, which is what we're currently talking about as Paget Primary School. Mr. Bean, Gerard Bean, was appointed headmaster of Ordroad School. So that was in 1945. And I can personally give you some personal history about that because my mother and her brothers and sisters attended Paget Glebe School, the one-room schoolhouse, which is on Chapel Road. And so I mentioned in an assembly last year when I was first sent to Paget Primary, I said, I don't know anything about Paget Primary School. And my mom said, you're going back to your roots because I and your aunts and uncles walked the trails to Paget Glebe on Chapel Road. And on the way, we will pick sage, and we used to chew the sage as a cleansing for our mouths and our teeth. And so she said, you're going back to your roots. So there was some family pride there about Paget Glebe School. So in 1964, temporary use of Samaritan Holes on Cobbs Hill Road, and Mr. Stovall was able to point that out, Mr. Stovall, in a walk that we had one Saturday, where that was, because I wasn't sure, at a rental of £5 per week until the roof of the Ordroad School was completed. In 1968, completion of 6 new classrooms and an assembly hall. Mr. Bean stated that the school now had increased from 2 little classrooms to 14 classrooms and could accommodate 450 students. So at that time, that was a lot of students, yes. In 1970, government planned to amalgamate the former all-white school, Salters Grammar, and Northlands, Whitney, Harrington Sound, Warwick Academy, and Ordroad. Okay, so with the exceptions of Salters Grammar School, the schools were amalgamated, and Salters Grammar opted to become private in 1971. Free education for all ages from 5 to 16 years old. Sir Henry Tucker explained his education report of amalgamation and integration to the House to prompt and promote further racial integration because voluntary integration had failed. Official end of segregated schools and the abolition of all age government schools after passing the 1971 amendment to the 1956 Education Act. So here's where Ordroad and Paget come back together. Transfer of Warwick Academy's primary department was completed, and Ordroad School was renamed Paget Primary School. So, Mr. Stovall, I'm just checking. Are you coming in on this part of it?
I would let Teacher Williams go, and I would come in where needed.
Okay, so I'll continue on then. Okay,
Yes.
so in 2009, Paget Primary celebrated 65 years of education at this particular location and 37 years since the school was renamed. In 2024, which is this year, Paget Primary as one school is 85 years old. So that's some of the times and events that happen in creating Paget Primary as a one school. And I can scan this brochure to you because it has a lot of history that may help
Mhm.
with some of the other interviews that you're having about the timelines of schools and the integration of schools. So on this note, I'm going to ask Ms. Williams, who attended Paget Primary during the 70s, to speak about some of her experiences.
Good morning.
Morning, Ms. Williams.
Yes, I attended here Paget at 1970. 1970 under the name Ordred under Mr. Gerard Bean, and was here I was then transferred to Paget Primary. The one thing that got me, which I was very excited about, was Miss Adele Tucker, who started the BUT, the Bermuda Union of Teachers, was the one that was ahead and started at the Paget Glebe School. And knowing that the people, the students from Paget Glebe came from there to come to Paget Primary, as it was a one school. So that was exciting for me to know that, you know what, she is part of the Bermuda Union of Teachers, and this is part of her. Her students had come here to Paget Primary. But here as a student at Paget Primary, I found it to be a very family-oriented school because it's a neighboring school with the students, the neighbors from Cherry Hill Park, Sylvandale, the Tribe, all the way to the end of Ordred, over to South Shore. We were a neighboring school, but not just for the school, but also a community. We used to gather together, like on weekends and have fun activities here with the students will come here and have fun activities together as a group. While here at Paget Primary, we took pride. We took very pride of our school. I was under Mr. Bean and then Mr. Francis. And Mr. Francis was here a couple of years ago. You can't remember what
Yes,
year, but he was here a couple of years and came and walked around the school. But we also, even the area that we have, the space that we have here, we have so much space. We even have the two fields, the top field and the bottom field. You know, I don't know if Mr. Starble remembers. I know he remembers. We always used to have that extra playing area at the back. Used to go there. We have so much space here. And that is one thing that I take pride of in this school, is just the amount of space that we have here at Paget. The community, and everybody, it is a very community-centered school, neighboring school. My family grew up here in Ordred, directly across from Paget Primary. So I've lived, read everything here at Paget. So Mr. Stovall, I don't know if you have anything.
And Ms. Williams still has great nieces and nephews that attend Paget Primary School because it's part of their family history.
Right.
And I'm giving them away a little bit, and a couple of them don't live in the zone, but they come to Paget Primary because that's where their family grew up. And so on that note, I'm going to ask Mr. Stovall to speak because he is very active with the Paget Lions, Warwick Workman's Church, Paget Parish Council, and I can pick the phone up as and reach out to him as a community member for just about anything to support our school. So thank you, Mr. Stovall.
Yes, morning.
Morning.
I can recall my days at Ordred / Paget Primary, which would probably be the late 60s under Mr. Francis. And I think prior to that, it was Mr. Bean was there for like, I think 2 years. And as Teacher Williams said, you know, Paget Primary is a community that spans from Asio all the way down to the roundabout. It encompasses, like you said, Sylvandale, Cherry Hill, Harvey Road, Backbush, which is Ordred Tribe Road number 5, and over into Spring Hill. My memory of the merger with Warwick Academy, it was an eye-opening experience because coming from or attending a all-Black school, and within weeks, months, the influx of all the students from Warwick Academy. There was a slight adjustment, but overall, I think that that merger with Warwick Academy helped the community in a big way. Because right up until today, some of the students that came over from Warwick Academy are still influential within the community, and the students that were already at Paget Primary, we still have a lasting relationship, and there are several that on a day-to-day, weekly basis, you know, I am still in contact with. And speaking of Paget Primary and the grounds, when you look at it, like Teacher Williams said, we had the bottom field and we had the top field. But there was a section in between that was forbidden, which was called the jungles. And I believe a student was in there one day playing, and there was a serious incident, and we were literally banned from actually playing in there. But after school, it was off limits to the ones that attended the school, but the ones that lived in the neighborhood, that's where we learned how to, I would say, scramble and, you know, enjoy being in nature and knowing that there was no repercussion for being in there unless it was on school time.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at the teachers that were there, I mean, you know, Mrs. Simons, who was the art teacher, she was responsible for actually creating that crest that sits or that hangs in the actual auditorium. And I was a part of that. And when you look at that, there's a combination of both Paget Primary and Warwick Academy right up until today. And, you know, we still have debates on, you know, whether this should have been in there and whether this shouldn't have been in there, but that actually encompassed both of us coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And when I speak of teachers, I mean the teachers like Mrs. Keynes, Mrs. James, who I still see in the neighborhood. Danvers Seymour was, you know, the PE teacher back then, along with Mrs. Stevens. There was a host of teachers, and right up until today, the ones that are still, you know, living, we still have a relationship. And when it came to the actual community, there's no other place in Bermuda I can say that has a knit or a bond like Ordred. Mm-hmm. There is so many different demographics from one end to the other. And, you know, I mean, I can call off names of several people who have invited us back in the day to their homes. Right up until today, there are still people in the neighborhood that, you know, we can reach out to at any given time. And along with the Paget football, excuse me, we have been instrumental in helping a lot of youth in the community. Yes, you know, Paget started out, you know, there was always that stigma. Oh, yes, you know, you're from Ordred, you know, that rough side of it. But over the years, we have managed to pull ourselves up. We have several players, parents, past players that have come through our ranks and are productive within the community. And, you know, it's no need to list any of the names, but also with the combination of Warwick Workmen's and the Paget Community Football Club, along with Paget Parish Council. Speaking on the council's behalf, we actually sponsored the actual Paget Lions or the Paget Titans Football Club. And right up until today, even though we now have a collaboration with Warwick Academy, and the students within the area, whether it be Paget Primary, Gilbert's, and we have a few from Purvis, which have now all come in under the Warwick Academy / Paget Football Club. And this year we actually, I think we made history because we have a field which has been relayed, lights, fencing, and we hosted several matches for the young ladies. We had schools from BHS, Summersfield, Warwick Academy, and also PHC to come up there to play matches. And that's a big step and a big accomplishment for the community, because normally it was just the seniors that was would actually train there. And yeah, the history of Paget Primary / Ordred, it's so much history. I mean, you know, this conversation that we're having here now, I think should be widened, and you know, even if it was like a evening where we can get more of the former students, and if there's any teachers that are still with us that would like to come and share some of their knowledge and their history, because what I have is probably limited, but from what I can recall, you know, right up until today, Paget Primary is deep in my heart, always will be in my heart. My son attended Paget Primary, and you know, along with my two sisters, my father attended. My mother was from another part or another side of the island, but right up until as we speak, I still pass through there every day. I see the teachers, we have conversations. So I would say basically that Paget Primary / Ordred is a shining light, and you know, we can go on talking about this all day. So I'll turn it over to Mrs. Rand. If it's anything that she wants to ask that I may have missed, then you know, she can ask, and I can contribute more to it.
Thank you, Mr. Stubble. And I will reiterate that our campus here is vast. And the jungle, thank you for giving me the name of that. The children are still banned from that area, but I didn't know it had an official name, Mr. Stubble, the jungle. Okay, so thank you for that. Yeah, so the Paget Lions have created a path through the jungle from the top field to the bottom field. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know, Paget right now is on track to become the parish school, and I would like to think it will continue because of the size of the campus and the potential of what could happen here is just no words can describe. Hopefully the jungle will be used or utilized in a way that's meaningful for teaching and learning. So that it's not just a place we can go on Saturdays, but it's a place that we can go from Sunday to Saturday. I will also talk about, we have, like every school, we have houses, yellow, orange house, purple house, blue house, and red house. But one of the, each house has a name of someone who is relevant to Paget community and Paget school. So Orange House was Adele Tucker, okay, and she was an outstanding person back in the early 1900s for the children of the Warwick and Paget area, and I'm sure there's lots of literature about her. Gerard Bean, he was, Purple House is named after him, and Vincent Francis, whose family is well known within Bermuda, in the legal field and education field as well. The last person is Mr. Martin Wilson. And so I'm not sure how much we all know about Mr. Martin Wilson, but Mr. Wilson, he had a store. Am I right, Mr. Stubble? A little candy store or grocery store?
Yes, Mr. Wilson's name, if I'm correct, came up in the Warwick Workman's 100th anniversary. And I believe the store that he had was or is where Buzz Landscaping is, if I'm correct. And he was influential, like you say, within the Paget, Warwick, and I think he had a big input, and I think he could be one of the founding members or a member that was affiliated with Warwick Workmen's.
Okay, so yes, he was one of the founding members because I kind of picked out his picture in our museum that we had when Warwick Workman's was highlighted. But his store was a meeting place for the Black men of that time to talk about politics. This was before there were two parties. It was one party. It was a political place for them to talk about how to empower the Black community. And so out of that came, I believe, the discussion of Warwick Workmen's Club and also how to support someone to run for political office that could speak to the needs of the Black community in Bermuda. And so my understanding that his place is still there as the Lawnmower Place, but it had that historical connection for politics, and I believe it's nicknamed 100 Downing Street. Is that familiar, Mr. Stavo? Number 10 Downing Street, 10 Downing Street, yes. So it was like Parliament for the men in the community to go and talk and plan and strategize. And I will say, I believe E.T. Richards, Sir E.T. Richards came out of that discussion. So there's a lot of power within the history of Paget Primary and how the community and the school connected and how we respected each other. So this document that I have here, I'll be more than happy to scan it to you. But and I know that story from my family because my family attended the one-room schoolhouse, so that they have that history, and the house is still there. And Mr. Wilson's daughter still lives there, and she's 90 years old. I asked her if she'll come on, but she says no. She's pretty savvy. She's still alert. She catches the bus and all those things. So she has a lot of history as well. So we are saturated with a wealth of history and experiences here at Paget Primary. And I'm going to say I am proud to be here.
Yeah.
Simply because of that history, but because of the connections that could be made to grow the school to be one of the best, if not the best school on the island. It has potential, and I'm sure you've been here, but if you'd like to come and see how extensive our campus is, of course, the building is old, like many of the buildings, but I think it's probably one of the buildings that's in better condition than many of the buildings, school buildings on the island. At one point, this was a 3-stream school, 3P1, 3P2s, right on up to P7 those days, right? So now it's kind of a couple of P1 classes, one P2 class. We have the autism classes, we have Success Academy. So there's a lot of space, a lot of rooms, probably need to be modernized a little bit and more 21st century like, but the potential and power here at Paget Primary, I can't speak enough about it. So unless you have any other questions.
One person that goes under the radar and was very, very influential in the Paget area, Paget Primary, and politics was Mr. Wilford Allen, who lived, as you go up on Topfield, over in Paget Lane. Now, is it Paget Close or Paget Lane?
Paget Lane.
Yeah, he was one of the founding members of the PLP, and he lived right adjacent to Topfield. And on several occasions, he would come down and talk to us as young kids when we were riding our bikes out there. And here's a name that probably only gets mentioned in the political realm, but when you're talking about community, Mr. Wilford Allen, and there's others, like Mr. Harry Sewers, who was influential in obtaining top field so that Paget Football Club can train, along with A.F. Smiths, Colin Smith and the Smiths. So Paget has a legacy where we've actually worked on both sides of the political round.
Mm-hmm.
Any given day, we can have the PLP, well, now it's the OBA. And if there's an issue within the community, whether it be, you know, with the antisocial behavior, or if it's something that needs to be done, we can reach out to both sides and things are actively taken care of. So
Right.
that's one thing I can say about Paget. We all work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. Just so that you know, Mr. Stavo, the History and Legacy Committee of the ministry, one of their roles once they get fully established will be to be recording the history of all schools.
Okay.
So that will happen, and they will have teams coming out. They will select which schools they start with, but definitely the purpose is to collect history of the school. So that's the next stage coming along. Carla, did you have any questions from the team? I know they share quite a bit.
Hi, everyone. No, but I did learn quite a bit, and you guys, what's quite notable is that you said about the work academy coming in. So that was like one of the, do you know if they were integrated, like integration didn't go well? Is that what you were saying, or?
No, the integration went well, but it was, I wouldn't say like a shock,
Right.
but to be at a whole predominantly Black school, and then within weeks and months, the influx of the kids from Work Academy, you know, it took a little while to adjust, but like I say, right up until today, I can reach out to many of them. We still have that lasting friendship and bond. And, you know, even 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting with Dave Horn from Work Academy, and every now and then the conversation will come up, and, you know, we will point back to, yes, this what was done. These are the people that are still here that still can talk about it. So, like I say, it was just a transition that back in the 70s was big for Bermuda.
Yes.
Very big.
And it's just really
And
cool that you guys represent not just Paget Parish, but even the surroundings, the workmen, so it's community based.
Yes, yes. We
Really,
are,
really, what a cool heritage and that you guys have.
yeah, and actually, you know, I probably mentioned it, but Work Academy, Workmen's, with the inclusion of Paget Primary and Gilbert, we all collaborate together.
Yeah.
And there's a few things that are coming on the pipeline shortly, you know, where it would give more opportunities to the kids at Paget Primary, Gilbert, and Purvis included when it comes to the sports round. So, you know, there's like I say, collaboration for cricket and football. So
And I can add to that, Mr. Stavo,
Yeah.
Work Academy, I think it's in the last couple of years, completed their marina down on the waterfront.
Mhm.
And they reached over to us and invited us to come see it and be there for the opening so that we can pair and use that marina
yeah,
because of that history, because they still feel like they are connected to Paget.
Mhm.
And at that time, I hate to go back to the pandemic, but the pandemic came, it kind of threw a wrench in it. And so we're just warming back up to reunite that opportunity, because the children at Paget Primary would benefit from accessing that with their science and STEM and all that's going on in that
Mhm.
realm. And so we met with the principal and we were there for the opening and we were starting to get things done. So we're trying to rev back up to reconnect with that. But they were definitely excited about inviting Paget to share that opportunity at the marina.
That's awesome.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. We have made notes. Principal Rayner, I'll look out for that document, which we'll add to it as well. And as I said earlier, we will complete the process and send in our information to the minister for consideration. I believe the minister is going to announce or make an announcement or come up with its decision within the next 2 weeks. So you'll hear more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Thank you
right.
so much for your time.
Thank you so much. We
Yeah.
enjoyed this. This is a healthy discussion. I really appreciate this opportunity. Look, and I'm gonna add, even though I know that the process is being carried out because of challenges of schools closing, but Mr. Stavo and Ms. Williams and I know that Paget Primary will remain a parish school.
I'm not saying anything, Principal Rain. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.